This is the Palouse Prairie Restoration Site Data Management Tool project, and this is for Team 7 in Clay's senior project class.
So Eastern Washington University has undertaken a project to restore campus farmland to native habitat and preserve natural land. The goal of this project is to foster research and educational opportunities to increase biodiversity and provide recreational space on multi-use trails. So for this project, we're just focusing on the Palos Prairie restoration site. The site will contain research, plots, and equipment to track progress and test various restoration techniques. Plant species, microbes, soil composition, and biodiversity will be monitored. Campus and community interactions with the site can be assessed, and outdoor educators can test out new teaching methodologies. For this project, we were tasked to develop a database management system for the EW Palos Prairie Restoration Site. The database management solution for the EW Palos Prairie Restoration Site is a web database application interface that serves to manage all research data for the restoration site. The data will be accessible to the general public and will only be modified by project researchers and approved faculty.
The primary purpose will be just that using the data management tool is going to allow the researchers to track all of this data over time as they come up with different projects and different things that they're testing. And as far as actually getting to their end goal of restoring all the native habitat to the land, it's going to take a while. So they will come up with different studies and different applications that they're going to need. And they're going to have that need to track the different tests that they're doing and ensure that nothing overlaps and there's nothing that's going to interfere with other projects.
The audience of this is a lot of it's deal with like to start it's going to be people who come to the website. It can be anybody that goes to this application to see any kind of the data that any of the people who are able to enter the data in there. They can view it, they can use it for other sources. They can actually observe the downloaded files that we'll be able to institute at some point. And it's also used by students, faculty of the biology department. They'll be able to enter all the information in there, use it for any kind of future studies or just science experiments that they're going to be doing on those different quadrats. And that's going to be over time.
And then as far as just, constraints for us as a group, and with this project potentially, blossoming into something really big and a pretty large scale project, for us, we're just going to be focusing on getting the basics up and running. So that's going to consist of having that front end user interface that's user friendly and easily accessible, something that the researchers aren't going to have to spend a lot of time looking for what they need. They should be able to just, if you're a researcher, you should be able to just log on, get your data entered, and then have that stored in the database. And if you're just a general user looking at the different data and projects that are there, that should just be right in front of you and easy to access. So our goal will be to get that up and running in its most basic user-friendly form. And then over time, as the biology department comes up with different ideas that they will want for the website and possibly different data sets that they'll want to track, then future senior project and capstone teams who work on this will be able to add those in as well.
So our client is the EW biology department. Our head lead is Dr. Rebecca Brown and Eric Budsberg. And Stacy Warren was also introduced into our project. And yeah, which is part of the geology department. And future science departments might join into this project, but for now, we're just dealing with these two science departments for this project.
Yeah, so then for the, kind of like I mentioned before, just the basic requirements that we're going to need to come up with in our go at this project before other groups continue with it. That primary thing, which will be for just users with access, will be to actually store research data. So that's going to be different things such as, you know, who worked on it, what it was, what the, you know, a title for the study, things like that. If there's any kind of management or different variables that went along with that. And we're going to try and make it as simple as possible for the researchers, because, you know, data is always going to be variable depending on what project you're doing and what you're trying to research. So we'll have it set up. So
yeah, just to interject there, and this is in our SRS, but just to say we have 3 tiers of users. So it's going to be the public users, who's anybody that visits a website that doesn't have a login, hasn't been designated by the admin. Then we have the researcher class who can read, write, edit, delete some of the content in there, but only specific to their content that they put in there. And then we have admin class who can give permissions and then do all the things that a researcher class can do as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, just to finish up on that point, yeah, we'll stick with basically the admins and the researchers being able to work on storing data, and then as far as viewing it, that'll just be something for the general public. So we'll try and keep it an inviting, friendly website that makes you want to come look at this and see how the project is going. You know, because once the restoration project itself is done, I think it's going to be really good for the university, and, you know, it's exciting for us to be a part of kind of working on this on the back end, just to help the biology and other departments get it off the ground and running. And so then, yeah, the other thing with that we'll make sure we get done is the user login, and have at least the initial set of admins and researcher credentials for the biology department and any other departments with concurrent projects to be able to use. And then we'll make sure we have that front end user interface with kind of lists out all the project info, what's it about, what they're really undertaking. And then we want to have it set up so we're able to display the different research projects that either biology capstone students or master's students are working on.
And that's in its most rudimentary form. You know, over time we want to create it to be more interactive, but for now it's just going to be as simple as an understanding that the biology needs at that point.
So for future functionalities for our front end website would be an interactive sitemap, which would label all plots and give a user the ability to click on a certain section and pull up the data that was collected at that certain plot site.
So we're going to be doing some project scale expansion. Right now, we're going to be dealing with a pilot site, and it's just a small plot that the biology department's starting with. But we're trying to be able to make it scalable to allow for several other different sites that to interact with ours, and then having cross information. But for now, we're just focusing on the pilot site.
Yeah, and then we also want to improve how we display the projects that the different students and researchers are working on. Because right now we're probably just going to we want to make sure that the functionality is actually there. So we'll capture the different files they have for their research, whether that be some kind of presentation or a master's thesis paper, or even some data and graphs about what they've been doing, some kind of, you know, final report. We want to be able to at least have the files there so they can be pulled up and viewed on someone else's device. But eventually it would be nice to pull from that and create different, I want to say like cards or sections where we can kind of showcase each of the different students and, really bring to life what they're trying to create. And then the same thing goes with the data as well. As they're submitting that data, right now we just want to have that functionality there and be able to pull up their raw data files. So they, obviously to us, we don't really understand everything that they're working on as far as the biology side of it, but to them, they'll know what they're doing. So we want to make sure they're able to access that and they can compare and track the data that they need. And eventually we'd like to be able to help them so we could pull information from the files that they submit and then potentially display different graphs and trends and just make it easier to really help them track their stuff over time.
So where are we at now? So we have at the moment have like a mock of the front end design and how we want everything to be presented to the user. We're still waiting on final information from our client. There's still some information that we still need to receive to fully complete our back-end portion of our assignment.
Including the schema.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of set those expectations with them that, we kind of need the basic information and we'll roll with that. And then anything else that they come up with that would be extra, we'll definitely track that in our SRS document and allow future groups to help them with that and try and implement those new features.
Exactly. And a huge piece of our next quarter is going to be dealing with the database. We've done a lot of the front end, a lot of the work, talking with our client, but now we're just trying to get the information so we can present it to the client.
Yeah, so then kind of like Colton said, the database stuff is going to be the main part, and with that comes the testing the user login, making sure that all works, and having the initial set of X number of research user credentials that the department can use. At this point, we do have the login table at least starting to be set up. So then we'll start testing with that at the beginning of next quarter. And then the next part will be also getting the overall schema for actually storing the data. The one thing we know is we'll have a study ID that will be unique to each study that a researcher is working on. And so when they submit that'll be one of the columns that is tracked continuously along all the tables, so we can connect the research with the other tables.
So here is our front end for our website. So this is our homepage for our EWU restoration database website. This will just be a cover photo, and then we'll have more information on what this site is going to entail and the opportunities for educational studies and research projects that they're going to be doing over time.
Yeah, and Daniel, if you can go up, that photo right there is going to be eventually replaced with an interactive map, but that'll probably be a future project if we can't get to it this quarter. But the homepage is generally just a hub to spread out to wherever you kind of want to go from. As you can see, the nav bar, we have home, general information, research projects, viewing the data, entering data, any kind of facts questions, and then we also have login. So we have a general information page, the same photo there. I just thought it was a good photo to showcase. And this is actually the information that we received from the sustainability coordinator. He gave us a PowerPoint, and so I took a lot of the information out of there and just made it in a nice, neat view of all the information that he wants to tell everybody about this project and who's working on it, what kind of educational opportunities there are, like what the kind of restoration sites are going to be. As you can see, if you go back up, Daniel, real quick, you can see the kind of habitats they have, the prairie, ponderosa pines, wet pollinator pilot site, like different spots they're going to be trying to do. And it also, if you go down, so it talks about, go one more. Yeah, so the master plan, this is going to be, if you see the red is the large area that EWU owns. And then lower down, we also have like the spot where we're actually talking about where the pilot site is. And then the educational opportunities it's several different departments. So if you go down real quick, Daniel, so we have the biology and geology, and those individuals, it's just basically telling them what they're going to be able to use, including their capstone. Go down. Same thing with unmanned aerial system. He didn't go too much into that, so I just kind of used the information that he gave us. But they're going to be able to look over the top and use topographical maps based on some aerial footage that they have, as well as schools around. The local schools are going to be able to use the area and kind of just showcase it for their own studies. You can see geology, theater, and then go up real quick, Daniel. And then the visual communication. So it's a ton of different departments that are actually using this, but the majority is going to be the biology department. So this is the actual pilot site here, and they've shown how they're breaking it up in their quadrats, and it's broken down. So whoever's coming in to see this, they're going to be able to know, hey, this is what the project is about.
Yeah, and then sorry, just to interject, just to keep us on track for time, we're almost running out. Do you want to go back up to the top, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll just kind of show the other tabs really quick. So then this research projects tab is, like I said, that's where we want to showcase all the files, a little title and description of what's being worked on currently. And eventually we want to really turn that into a nice viewable card that actually showcases the projects. And then the view data tab is where they will go. That's currently one of the ones we're working on, but that's where any general user can go to pull up data that's been submitted through the enter data tab. Which this is also still a work in progress. The biology department has some other ideas, different things they want to track, but this is really where the schema is going to come from for all the different tables we need to keep track of. And then frequently asked questions, we'll just kind of have some of those in there for anybody who comes to check out the project, anything they come up with that the biology or sustainability office knows about the project, we can throw that in there. And then, the contacts page will just have the information of everybody who's currently worked on the project and each of their respective parts. Yeah, and then finally, just that login page is where users will be able to log in. And if you're an admin or researcher, you'll be able to actually access stuff, view, edit, or delete data, whereas regular users to the website can just view data. And that is about time for us. So unless you guys have anything else, I think that's everything.
Nope.
Everything.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for listening.